Yeah, yeah.
Kai Cenat, right? He's 23 years old, star of Twitch. He launched his personal care line, Tone, right?
Mm-hmm.
With a
Mm-hmm.
full on overnight live stream inside a Target store surrounded by his AMP crew. And he immediately got dragged, right? Because we know Target is facing a deep cultural boycott, right? There were just complaints about them sponsoring the Essence Festival and why that was controversial for some, as well as them dropping anti-racism training, black advancement programs, LGBTQIA brand partnerships. The list goes on and on. So Pastor Jamal Bryant was one of the individuals talking about Kai, and he said if Target would spend as much energy and resources meeting the demands of the Target fast as they are on influencers paying preachers and going to Essence Fest, we would be further along. So what are your thoughts, DH, on all of this and what Kyson is doing? Also, there's a bit of, we've seen a lot of this conversation around the fact that he has Haitian roots. So he probably, in some opinion, doesn't relate to the boycott in the same way that we do or take it seriously. And yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially as a partner.
Yeah, yeah. Well. One of my products are in, or six of my products are in Target, and they came along with the boycott. And I wasn't going to withdraw them. My wife and business partner took most of the heat on that online, social media, all that. Tears at night for her. For me, I just said, hey, we're in it. We're going to continue to do it because our investment was just too severe at that time, and no one was rescuing us from that. So when I look at a young person at 23 that's striving to launch something, there's not a lot of places you can go. There's no alternatives that can be had. It's Walmart, it's Target, a TJ Maxx, a Ross, all these places that sell that kind of stuff. So what choice does he have if he wants to do it?
What about the people that say, just do it online, just do it all online yourself and have a warehouse and distribution and take care of all of that?
Those are people who haven't done that themselves.
Right.
Because I know I have a warehouse, I have a fulfillment company, and it's tough. I was talking to some financial person today about the difference between daily orders and a Target order or a TJ Maxx order, a big box order. And if you want to be, and I don't have as much as this guy has.
Right.
I don't have nearly as much as that. I started from nothing to something. And so I think that, once again, he's 23, he's young. He might not know about our struggle that most of us older people know about, the struggle that is multiple decades. Two, I do think it's something with his nationality. He's Haitian, Caribbean, and then there's African, and then there's black, like descendant of slaves type stuff, and we just have a different thing. That stuff hits us harder, like that. A boycott isn't in his vocabulary. I mean, if anything, he's Toussaint, he's Toussaint Louverture, the Haitian dude who beat the French that created America. So
Right.
He has a different thing around him. So I think it's a tough situation. Target's going to keep being Target. We know that. They're going to figure out a way to make the business roll. And it just takes a collective people like the boycotts and all that kind of stuff to kick dust up. And we're 4 months or 5 months in, and I think the boycott, at least the data I saw, there was an uptick with all the stores that were in our neighborhoods in May. So the boycott was over in May. It's talk now.
Mm.
And I've known that from just my looking at data that I get, privileged to, as being, in Target. So the boycott kind of is over. It's just voice. And Jamal Bryant said it was over.
So when we come forward, we'll get more into that. But what I also want to ask is supporting, right? They're still putting out content, products, and supporting black creators, black brands, though it's not as overt, I guess, as it was a couple of years back where it had to yell, "We're black." Is that still an okay thing, or is that a problem? We'll get into that.
I just want to say this regarding boycotts. I feel like I've been talking about boycotts for as long as I could remember. As long as I could, when I became politicized, when I kind of knew what the landscape of the world was all about. We're tripping on this young individual. Brother Damon, you said it well. He's a young man, 23. He's not tapped in like that, but it's okay. Let him be an example from a business perspective. But real talk, when it comes to boycotting, this is my opinion. I'm going to share it as always. We tripping over just Target, right? There's so many other corporations out there. You know what I mean? That is against us. But are you boycotting them? So y'all got all this heat for brother Kai Cenat, who might not really be tapped in like that. Give him some grace. He's a youngster. But for everybody else that's tripping on him, you probably going to McDonald's. You probably going to some other spot, patronizing them. And you already know they're anti-DEI. So quite frankly, I feel like it should be boycotts all throughout the board. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Well, let me share. I think that it shouldn't be boycotts. It should be a whole array of different choices. We don't have to say it's a boycott. One of the analogies I use is a vegetarian isn't boycotting a steakhouse. They're not boycotting Ruth Chris or Fleming's or
they're just
Mastro's.
making different choices.
They're just making different. I don't even, and it's cool for you beef eaters. I'm gonna go over here. So I would say that we don't have to just call it a boycott, because I think that we're the only ones who kind of say that. That's part of a black legacy, a civil rights legacy. Just do what you want to do. If you feel there's some unfairness, if you feel that it's unjust, just say, I'm going to go where it is just. Because, like I said, the boycott, we just flipped that word around. So I would say just make different choices. Now this, Kai, it seems like he could have done it online. He could have got a third-party logistics person, fulfillment and all that. I'm pretty sure he's not a chemist and didn't do tone and all that kind of stuff. Somebody handed that to him.
Right.
I'll bet my right arm on that, and I am right-handed.
Absolutely. This is a good move for you. You should do this.
Yes, and we have everything, maybe the scent, and he liked it, and that's it, period. And so I think that he could have made different choices other than the easy choice of Target. He could, with as much energy as he has, he could have changed the whole dynamic of how he creates $1 billion company, like the women do it. They're not in Target, They
initially, right.
So,
and I mean the other thing is that, and then Andy, I'm gonna come to you. Kevin Hart shouted him out for making this move. We know Kevin Hart backs him incredibly. There are some other, top individuals that are shouting him out. I'm not mad at him for moving forward and making these moves. It's just open for conversation. I also want to add that the CEO of Target, Brian Cornell, responded to the controversy for not just this, but Essence Fest, saying, our commitment to opportunity for all and inclusion is unwavering. So I again ask the question, if they are still continuing to move forward with supporting Black-owned brands and things of that nature, just not under the umbrella of DEI, and none of the individuals thus far that are involved in partnerships with the organization seem to be saying that they've lost anything in this transition process, could they just be doing what we say we do, code switching to fly under the radar of Trump, and so that they aren't missing out their things as well? Like, are we getting too caught up in semantics and not looking at the actions that are following?
Yes, I believe that the way that our elected president is putting stuff out there that you don't want that heat. You don't want him tweeting about you, coming for you. So you're going to step in line, period. I've known since February to now that Target really hasn't changed what they do. Now, they've said it differently, but they haven't changed. They didn't drop me or any others during this time period. They didn't. Now, did they get rid of some of the programs that were generated around George Floyd and previous? Well, you kind of had to do it if the president says this isn't what we're doing as a country anymore. Period. And he comes out with other little stuff, and I'll share off online. I lost a significant amount of money on a tax credit that he is not honoring, before he got into office. And I just learned that from my accountant today. I was like, well, damn, what am I do? So he's doing a lot of tricky things. And just like I have to just say, damn, so does a CEO. The target person has to say, dang, we still believe in everybody. We still want those people coming through the doors, but we just can't say we do certain things, and we do have to fly under the radar and code switch. But they're still, like I said, with all from what I hear, the cluster of, and I'm on, because I'm in there, I follow Target a lot and social and all that kind of stuff. People like me not saying they dogging us, the products that are in there. And they had begun phasing that out, not just firing people on the spot like our president did, like you're done on Friday, but phasing people out, understanding that it's families and service and all that kind of stuff. So,
Andy, you look like you had something you want to add.
Man, where do I start? Where do I begin? First off, Brother Damon, shout out to you, right? Being a pioneer, being a trailblazer in the game. You talked about options. I think if we had, more Damons out there in these streets, locally, I think it would be good to pivot, right? I just think a lot of these corporations, it's necessary, I think, in my opinion, as a strategic move, if we're talking about collective movement upward, right? Now I can understand not boycotting because your products are in those those corporations. I get that aspect too. But I just think, man, we got to move a little bit strategic. Mimi says something about we can't boycott all these companies simultaneously because we got to buy food and clothes. And I think that's a problem in itself, too. Mm-hmm. Although I understand it, I think there has to be some sort of sacrifice somehow, some way, and what it sounds like, too, at the end of the day, a lot of these corporations really don't have any integrity. You know what I'm saying? They got to kiss the ring or else they not going to get no money. And that's unfortunate. So we got this 1% who's controlling everything. It still baffles me. It brings me back to the whole Occupy movement, whereas 1% controlling the 99%. How is that even possible? Because of these laws and stuff like that they implement? Now imagine if we just didn't engage in that type of stuff. It's a different type of level of thinking, though. I'm not going to expect everybody to think like that.